Hello, everyone. Dr. Nick Kilverma here with another episode of Things I Didn't Learn in Med School. I apologize that I've been MIA the past few weeks, especially after the holidays. Um, Coming up to the holidays, I said I was going to take a break, and I did. But following that, I've been in the process of moving. I've been doing some physical therapy for my shoulder, physical therapy for my ankle. After a few injuries, shoulder injury has been pretty chronic. Ankle injury is a little bit new. Decided to join a basketball league, and I realized sometime along that course that I'm not 21 anymore. Took a jump shot, landed on someone's ankle. Talked about it in my last episode a little bit, but a lot of this stuff has been occupying a lot of my time, and I've also just kind of been working on the practice. Um, and besides that, I think there's been a big push at of meetings that's been taking up a lot of my times, and that's a good segue into what I want to talk about today. Um, as I just said, I've had a lot of meetings. The title of this video today is, life is a game of quarters, and right now we're in the Q1 quarter one of the year, and there's a lot of pitfalls and things that I've started noticing that's been occupying a lot of my time, energy, and mental resources that I wanted to display out to everyone else. Um, and this concept of quarters is so fascinating to me. Some people may call it seasons of life. Some people call it different things, but there is truth to be said that in the first quarter of your life, you know, we'll say if you lived 100, the first 25 years of life, and then the next 25, right? Um, However you want to break that up, and if you break up life into these different sections, things become very interesting how much you change from quarter to quarter to quarter um, throughout. But also, every year is broken up into quarters, mainly for fiscal reasons, financial reasons, helps calendar, helps stocks, helps goals, and all that stuff. But it kind of makes sense across the board. But that's what I want to talk about today. First and foremost, as I was just alluding to, is the concept of having all these meetings. And I found it so interesting. At the end of last year, everyone was rushing to get done to end of last year, trying to squeeze in procedures because patients have met their deductible and all these kind of uh, vacations coming up at the beginning of the year, people going out of town, people want to go get away from the winter if you live in the Midwest or the Northern or the East, try to go somewhere south or go out west to enjoy the winter months, not being in the snow and cold and et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people trying to cram in procedures at the end of the year. When that happens, then something interesting, especially as specialists, when it comes to January, February, a lot of patients um, don't come in for those elective procedures as often. And this can be financially tough for independent practices or really any practice. If you're used to having such a budget that you're planning ahead and okay, every month I'm kind of using last year's or last month's or the month before's accounts receivable, expected accounts receivable, because that's kind of how you operate, and that's how most businesses need to operate, because the insurance companies don't pay you right away. We have that 90 day lag of when the insurance company can pay. So that can give a very tough situation for a lot of practices when it comes to January, February, and March, where they don't have the patient volume, they don't have the elective procedures, they don't have other things coming in. So that's something that for anyone out there that's trying to start a private practice, or if you're in private practice, or even if you're working for a company or a hospital, like this is a realistic thing that happens because people have not met their deductible. More people are out traveling and moving down south. Maybe you'll get the procedures there, but if that's your patient base that you're relying on in your hometown, then that can cause some issues. So you have to be fiscally aware of this, and this is something that's going to definitely happen. So at the end of year, you need to start planning, budgeting for the first quarter of the following year. So you don't have as many patients, but you do have more time. So this is a great time to set up implementation of changing or changes, and um, look at the books, see where money might be wasted, see where money might not be could be utilized more, what revenue sources are bringing in the most, how do you double down on that, how do you improve your office, how do you improve the staff, and all that stuff. And when you're doing this bookkeeping, it makes sense. Taxes are due in April, but you might as well get started on them earlier and try to get everything submitted to the IRS prior to that. So it's a great time of the year to kind of look at the books, do analysis, do some research, and maybe even hire a mentor or hire a business person to sit down and look at the books with you and see what you can do. So just to remind you, this is all stuff that I'm doing. I'm planning to meet with one advisor for practice operations specifically, and then another individual can help potentially increase my contracts and redo my contracts. Another good time to look at all your contracts at the beginning of the year and see if you can have room to negotiate and maybe hire someone to do so. I'm upgrading my office. I'm, adding more beds. I'm adding more patient beds. I'm adding more supplies. I'm adding more desks, more chairs, all that kind of stuff, which is obviously important. So yeah, those are the main things that I'm focusing on right now. The other thing is if there are goals or courses or other things that you want to work on, what better time than right now at the beginning of the year, so you can start implementing these things throughout the year. So there's certain courses that I want to take, practice financing courses, practice betterment courses, going out to hands-on courses and learning a lot. And those are other things that I'm looking forward to. Which brings me to this following point is, this is the time of the year. I didn't really notice it last year, maybe because I was newer, but this year it has been ridiculous. The amount of representatives and companies that have reached out to me to set up meetings, invite me to their training courses, this, that, and the other. It got to a point, I'm going to pull up my calendar real fast and just took last week, every day I had something booked, and multiple times, 2 or 3 meetings in the same day. The past 2 weeks have been like that. And then even the week before that, I had a bunch. So this isn't mean to complain, but this is the observation that I had. I was recently invited to a global sales meeting for a certain company to help speak to their staff, speak to their territory managers and therapeutic managers, and some of the other clinicians and some of the executives in the group. Now, I wasn't the only physician. There's lots of other physicians, a lot more trained physicians and have bigger names than me, but it was an honor, and I'm very humbled to have that opportunity. And it was kind of eye-opening because I've never been to a global sales meeting of sorts. And what they were talking about really made me understand what their message was for the most part. Now, coming back to my practice, now I'm starting to see why all these individuals are reaching out to me. They're all coming from a place like, we just had this huge meeting. We got all this new education. We got to go lay it on our physicians, hammer, hammer, hammer. The problem for me is I still have patients. I still have procedures. I still have to operate a business. When I'm getting 15 to 20 text messages a day, hey, when can we meet? Hey, I have this new project to show you. Hey, I want to come over. And then you get the messages on LinkedIn, you get phone calls, you get emails. It could quite possibly be one of the most annoying things that I have to deal with currently. And I know this because I've been complaining about it for the past week. And I hate complaining about things like this because I know it's their job and I understand what the motivation is, but it's to that. These companies have to realize you're not the only company coming knocking on my door. It is everybody. It's imaging centers, it's representatives for companies and devices, it's pharmaceutical companies, it's, hey, do you have water, a water tank that needs to be serviced in your apartment or your business complex? Do you want to update your internet and cable? Do you want to look over your insurance. All these things, like it piles up miles higher than anyone can see. So I kind of took a step back from all this, and I mean, maybe everyone's aware, maybe it's not. But what comes off for me, it's so disingenuous when now that I know the motive and what pushed them was that global sales meeting or a conference call or something like that, and it's Q1, and now they have all these new goals that they have to hit. I've been around all year. You guys will be around all year. Don't just out of the blue, hey, it's been a while catching up, and let's get together. It's like you're the 15th person that's asked me today. I don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth. And more or less, most of these meetings can be get done with a simple text message, phone call. I don't need to spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes out of my office visit or meeting you after work. It's and I get it. You want to put out the new products, put out the new information, put out the new studies, and I totally respect that. But it's not it's disingenuous to me because my gain out of that, their gain out of that 30 minutes is much more than my gain. I have the opportunity to help more patients, but the representatives and the company make way more money than I do out of that single patient. So, and granted, I said this yesterday and I mean it to my core. Representative was in for a company yesterday and he was training someone. And during this training, he said, I don't know if he said it honestly or tongue in cheek or what, but he said that to the trainee, Dr. Verma is one of the most ethical doctors that I've met. He doesn't just do things to do things. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, I have this philosophy about me that I'm not doing it for the money. Money is nice, but that's not my primary motivator to do these kind of things. And I said, yeah, that might be to my pitfall. That might be the reason why my practice doesn't succeed in the long run. But it is a truth. And they were both complimenting how that I was able to identify the right patient, the exact right patient for their exact product. I said, yeah, I mean, what do other places do? These are indicated for certain things. They're not indicated for all these other things that people try to make them indicated for. So it was an interesting just conversation of, they realize that where my value is of what I'm trying to accomplish and what I'm trying to do. And that is just put patients first. And then after that, it's put my practice and business second. And then really after that, it's everything else. And that might mean representatives or a certain device that I might not be willing to do or sacrifice time for or whatever. Now, I'm a huge proponent of sharpening skills, reading the data, looking at the new research, talking to colleagues and people that have been experiencing and using these technologies. I'm a huge proponent of that. I'm such a big proponent of it. Like I dedicated 2023 to go to less conferences and meetings and more hands-on courses. A lot of time the conferences are more for networking and catching up with people and getting ideas and expanding practices, which is totally fine. But it doesn't give me as much of a return of value as if I learn to do a new procedure that I can potentially help more patients, that I can potentially help a bigger population. And that is more worth my time. So I've been dealing with this push-pull for a while. And I just kind of, last night I was talking to a colleague of mine and it kind of dawned on me that this is actually what the problem is that these representatives have this nature about them to come in. Now, I'm not saying all of them, and the ones that I work with very well, and I choose to continue to work with them for a reason, because I can see that they see what I'm trying to do, and they respect that, and they respect me, all that stuff. The worst thing that I hear is when a rep texts me, what can I do for you? Like, what kind of question is that? It's really, they're saying is, what can I do for you so you can put more money in my pocket and make me look better for my company? That does not fly with me. And I know there might be some people that actually truly need, what can I literally do for you? But honestly, that's not a question. I'm not the type of person that's going to go out and ask for help in those situations. You either go do it and take care of it, whatever it might be, or find another way to build into my practice, to find respect for my patients, to go the extra mile, and that kind of stuff. It's not a question for me to answer. It's a question for them to find out. And I've actually said to representatives before, it's like, you want to help me out? Go find me more patients and go find me help in my office because I need staff. The pushback I got was, well, obviously I can't tell other physicians that are pain doctors to send you patients because that'd be, conflict of interest and all this. It's like, that's not what I said. You have friends, you have family members. If you would trust yourself with me, then you can come have. And patients have taken, or representatives have taken me up on that. They've sent their loved ones to me. They've sent friends to me. So it's that first part was a funny thing that I just, people pushing back. I'm like, oh, I don't have any patients for you. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. Then go find me some help. You go to all these doctors' offices, you go to all these surgery centers, people talk, people like, oh, I might leave, or I'm looking for another job, and I'm not saying you need to tell those people, but that receptionist, they probably have a friend that might be looking for a job. That MA, he or she might have friends that are also MAs looking for a job. There's, as I was saying, that there are individuals and companies that work really well with me, and I work really well with them, and I really appreciate them. And the ones that I find myself continuously drawn to is they continuously do things for me that I don't even ask them to do. They're bringing patients to my front door. I know the perfect doctor that's going to fit your personality. And that's who they get in front of me. They go out to the community, not on my behalf, and say, oh, Dr. Verma does this procedure for us. He's like, it's more of, hey, Dr. Verma is new in the area. He's trying to build up his practice. Would love for you to send him some patients, or set up a time that he could call you and set up a time to talk. So now they're not pushing just their product. They know if the more successful my practice becomes, is more likelihood that their practice or their device, their company, their medication, or whatever is going to have better and better outcomes. Because now I have a bigger patient pool to pick from. So that's the other pitfall, I guess. The summary is how much time these meetings are taking from my day-to-day life and happiness and patient care. But I don't think the representatives are aware of it because it's kind of mandated from their company. So now, I hope and pray to God that some CEOs of companies and higher executives read and hear this message. What I'm saying is, because I'm not the only one. It's thousands of doctors across the U.S. and it happens all the time. Some doctors are more receptive of it, others aren't, and I get that too. I never wanted to be the type of physician that said no to anyone coming into my office. I always want to welcome everyone with open arms and at least have a conversation. But it's getting to that point where it's like, you guys are taking up so much of my time that now I realize why physicians say no representatives in the office. I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think I will ever get there. I think I'm just going to have to be more selective on who I meet and when I meet them, being it more on terms that fit with me and how I want to operate my practice. Yeah. So anyways, that's what I wanted to say this morning. I do have, hopefully I'll be back more, if not every week, every other week at least. More and more topics are coming to mind. And I'm trying to grow into some sort of hosting service that can be able to help me with the interviews of the people that I do want to do interviews with, that could just potentially help get this message out to more people. I think a lot of people go into these kind of podcasting, YouTube things to gain popularity, to gain monetization, and there's absolutely no problem with that. I think I do this because I really enjoy it, and I get so much feedback from medical students and residents and fellows like, hey, I really like what you're putting out there. Can you keep doing it? And even attendings. I know a lot of people that are in employed positions and have come up to me and said, I really appreciate what you're saying because I don't have the opportunity to say that. So, maybe it'll bite me in the butt. Maybe it'll cost me. I don't know. But at least for the time being, it's serving a purpose and I'm happy to continue to do it. Please subscribe. If you have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.